What's going on, wrestling fans? It is I, Steve Fall, and welcome to 10 Count. On today's edition, I'm talking to a man who has held that NWA Heavyweight Championship, and he's also one half of the NWA Crockett Cup winners this year. It's Trevor Murdoch. How are you doing today?
I'm a big ball of joy, brother. Thanks for having me on.
That's a great way to describe yourself. I like that because you did win the NWA Crockett Cup, and this is something that no one can ever take away from you. You are in the footsteps of Hall of Famers, legends. How does it make you feel knowing that now your name is part of the Crockett Cup forever?
Man, it you know, it makes me feel good, but also in the same sense, it puts a lot of pressure on me because of the fact that I want to go out and continue to represent the company and myself to the best of my ability. Um, I've worked really hard in the NWA, and I've been blessed with the fact that I've been able to win the NWA World Title twice.
Yeah.
I've been national champion once, and now I'm a Crockett Cup winner. So that puts a lot of pressure on me to help try to elevate the company and try to help the company get to the next level because they're trusting me. The fact that my name is etched in the history books, bro, like honestly, no one can ever take that away from me. It makes me feel good. Like there's a lot of things in pro wrestling that change,
Yeah.
but not that. Not that, man. I'm there. I'm locked in history. If I get hurt and I can't wrestle anymore after today, I'm still in the history books and I'm still next to the legends. And so hopefully one day, 15, 20 years down the road, I've got guys saying the same thing about me, saying they're next to my name.
Yeah, I love it so much. And you mentioned you were a two-time champ as well, NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Are there any plans for you to try to regain your championship? Because I know there was opportunity there, and then now you're in a tag team situation. So plans change, but is there an opportunity for you to become champion once again in your eyes?
In my eyes, if whenever I want to pull the trigger, yes. Right, being world heavyweight champion is an honor. It's a blessing, but also in the same sense, it's a huge weight and it's a semi curse because everybody gives their opinion on what they think you should or shouldn't be doing. Number one, number two. Also, I represented the whole company. When everybody asks, that's the first thing you do in pro wrestling. Who's the world champ? So for a year and a half, I was representing the whole company. And that's a lot of pressure. And to a certain extent, it becomes not fun.
Mm.
Now granted, I love being world champion, but on the same sense, I needed to take a break and step out and let somebody else step in and be that torchbearer. That you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I realized that I was going to take a break from the world title scene for a while, I got real close to Mike Knox, and Noxie and I beat the hell out of each other, and we realized like, man, it's better to be standing next to each other than to be standing across from each other. And Billy gave us one tag team match because we just brought it up. We were like, let's let me and Noxie tag for one match. And that's all it took. And Mike and I knew exactly, all right, this feels right, feels good. We trust each other. And for me personally, I would like to add World NWA World Tag Team Champions to the list of accomplishments that I've had.
I would love to see that. And I talked to Mike Knox honestly about 10 minutes ago, and he had same kind of scenario where you guys were beating the crap out of each other in matches, and then you sort of started talking and realizing you might have known each other years ago, but now you're actually talking and realizing you have a lot more in common than you have different. And now, of course, the Crockett Cup, maybe even championship gold in the future. So obviously you and Mike Knox are enjoying your time together.
Yeah, oh, completely. And Mike and I are cut from semi the same cloth. If you look at our careers, they're very similar to the extent of like we were moving forward and we were going in a positive direction, and it seemed like life or politics or some sort of horseshit derailed us to a certain extent. And now Mike and I feel like this is our time. No one can stop us. So we're gonna go out and prove to everybody that maybe years ago there was some bad decisions when it came to our career, and maybe they should have looked a little harder at both of us because Mike and I want to explode on the world of tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
We really want to take on anybody and everybody because we feel like we've not only got the names, but we've got the ability as well too.
Right. And I think a lot of people love the smash style you have versus some people. Everyone has a different opinion on what wrestling style they enjoy, but I've never, ever heard someone go, I don't like that smash and brawling style. Everyone enjoys that because, like, oh, some people like, oh, I know that part over there might be, predetermined, but what I just saw right there, that was real. He smashed him in the face.
Well, and that's our job, is to go out there and to, I guess, ride the line of believability. It's my job to pull you out of whatever reality you've got on your mind, and pull you into what I'm doing. And if that takes me getting smoked in the mouth, or high booting somebody in the face to do that, to get your attention, I'm willing to not only take it but give it, because it's my job to take you away from thinking about the bills or the hardships are going on at home, or the kids, or just whatever negativity you have going on outside of that building. It's my job to transform your world into mine. So I take that very seriously, and to the point where I have plenty of examples of I'm willing to let somebody punch me in the face, so you'll realize what's going on in the ring is as real as it gets. If
Yeah.
that makes any sense at all.
It does. It 100% does. Because I believe that some people look at professional wrestling and they look at beyond the curtain versus what's happening in the ring more so lately than ever, where they're like, well, that was a great match, blah, 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 blah. But the reason he only won was because, he said this mean thing on the internet about so-and-so. And the reason he's not, like, can we just sit back and
enjoy it, right?
Yes, yes.
We do it to ourselves, Steve. You never see the guys making Star Wars or making the movies coming out and telling all the details of backstage horse shit, whatever goes into it. You don't see people coming out and do that.
True.
Whereas wrestlers and promoters and people who probably shouldn't be in the business, that are trying to create some attention for themselves, spew all of our horse shit out there in public. So now people feel like they have a right to give an opinion. If they would just enjoy it for what it is, man, and look at it as a 2.5 hour program of entertainment, then everybody would be so much happier.
Yes, I agree. Like each company, there, because people can go on the internet and just look up information about someone now. So like every company that exists, professional wrestling wise, has a bad apple. It doesn't. But some people put a spotlight on that bad apple, and some people ignore that bad apple based on their preference of who they want to root for. And to me, that's the weirdest scenario ever, where someone clearly he did something wrong, but we're gonna lift them up. But over here, someone you just don't agree with them, you're gonna try to push them down, and it's very weird in professional wrestling where you support. It's like a team, like a sport. You support one team, but you don't like the other, but you're gonna ignore the facts that there's some bad people working for each company, but pretending it doesn't exist is one thing or another. But either way, moving on though.
As a wrestler, you just ignore it and you just keep trudging forward, and pretty much sell that shit, man. You know what? I know the right thing to do. I know what my direction is. I do my best to try to not listen to the social media stuff, because as you can tell, physically, I am not a jacked individual. There are no six-pack on me. And throughout my career, I've had people judge me for the way I look. And I'll be honest with you, I've had more ass whoopings in real life from guys who look like me than anybody who's ever stepped to me with a six-pack. So if you really think about it, and throughout my career, people have made jokes and comments about the way I look, but I'm 25 years in and I'm still kicking people's asses. I just let that stuff go. You know what I mean? You can't think about it. You can't let people's other opinions affect what you do and what your plans are.
Your checks are still clearing. You got money in your pocket, so you can say whatever they want about, your physical appearance. But guess what? They're jealous that you're there and they're not, and you're cashing those checks still to this day. 25 years in the business. You started in 1998, right?
Yep. 98.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say, because 25 years in the business, long time. And you've been in so many different companies and you've rubbed shoulders with so many legends and tag teams. But what was your experience ever like bumping into Hulk Hogan? Because I know a lot of professional wrestlers love him or hate him. I absolutely love him. And Mike Knox had a great story about Hulk Hogan a little while ago when I talked to him. But what was your experience like? Did you ever talk to him? Did he ever sit down with you?
I never sat down with Hulk. I've just, in passing, said pleasantries. I know this is horrible. But the first thing I realized was I'm bigger than he is. I'm taller than he. Like that, as a wrestler, you look at these icons. It's the same way with Triple H. When I first got my job with Triple H, you look at Triple H, and he's just such a massive individual, not only physically, but just the aura that he carries around with him. The same way with Hulk Hogan. So when I finally got to meet them, I both realized I'm taller than both these guys. So if I'm taller than both of them, I can look as wide as them. You know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm doing okay. And that honestly was the only thing I took away from my interaction with Hulk Hogan because again, he was in the back and he was, shaking everybody's hands. And, I'm still a wrestling fan at heart, so I kind of marked out a little bit and I was like, I don't know what to say to him. It's Hulk Hogan. Oh my God. I don't I don't want to let him know I'm an idiot, so I just won't speak. Hello, sir. How are you? Nice to meet you.
So those were the exact words you said to him. He shook your
Yeah, oh,
hand.
yeah. Oh, hello, sir. I went back to Greenhorn, like early stages of my career. Yes, sir. How are you? It is so nice to meet you. Oh, no, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, I've been watching you wrestle, kid. You're doing good. All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. But other than that, he had so many people surrounding him, and kind of his entourage. And I just personally don't like to get into the mix of that stuff. I've never been the guy that chases down the boys and like is trying to quote unquote, like I want to get to know him, I want to be his friend. I remember one time when I was with the WWE, I was on a flight and Stone Cold Steve Austin was on the show that night, and sure enough, him and I were on the same flight. And I felt awkward. I went and talked to him a little bit, but I didn't want to like fanboy out because to a certain extent, like he's everything I wanted to be, attitude wise. You know what I mean? That ass kicker, that guy that goes in there, doesn't take any shit. That when he steps into the ring, he's there to fight. He's not there to be pretty. He's not there to make friends. He's there to fight and then go home. And so I was a bit of a mark for Stone Cold because of the fact that was his whole attitude. Go in, kick ass, go home, drink beer. So I talked to him a little bit and spent a little time with him, but I was nervous. I straight up was, I turned into the straight fanboy. I didn't want to say anything too stupid, but I was lucky enough that I had the background with Harley, and Steve and Harley were close. And so that really was kind of my end to start the conversation.
Oh man, I can only imagine because like as an outsider like myself, I go to press conferences and I'll do like Triple H like 10 feet in front of me, and I'm just like, oh, Mr. Triple H, ask him a question, whatever. But then there you are as a peer, an employee in the company, and yet you are still feeling the butterflies, the nervousness of Hogan and Austin and these characters, these over the top characters, because they're the ones who kind of made the business the way it is today.
Yep. And ultimately, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of pro wrestling. I love pro wrestling. So those were the guys that you were watching coming up. And, as a young man, I'm making my decision based off these larger than life characters if that's something I want to do. And they did. Both of those guys brought me in. As a young man, Hogan brought me in. And as a teenager turning into a man, Stone Cold brought me in. And those are the guys that like, wow, the world seems to revolve around them, not the other way around. And
Yeah.
I wanted that. I wanted that. I wanted to be a part of that. I figured if I can get just a quarter of that, my business will be good.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, in '98, when you came into the business, Austin was red hot, setting the
Oh,
entire wrestling world on fire. And you've wrestled with other people like John Cena and Randy Orton, these characters who carried the torch after The Rock and Austin and Hogan and those guys, went off and became bigger than ever without even wrestling involved with them. But I remember talking to you before, and you told me kind of a story, but I would like to hear it one more time. Is you saved Randy Orton's life?
I saved him from getting his ass kicked as world champion, and not saying that he couldn't defend himself. What had happened was we were on a tour in Europe. We're a 19-day tour, and when you're on those tours, you wrestle every single day. There is no day off. So a common practice, or at least used to be, was at the end of the tour, everybody would go down to the hotel bar and get inebriated. So by the time you got on the plane, you could pass out and take that 14-hour plane ride or however long plane ride and you virtually sleep through the whole thing. So we're all down at the hotel bar. It's me sitting across from Lance. To my left is Arn Anderson. To my right is Randy Orton. And there's a fan that came in and asked Randy for his autograph. And Randy was a little volatile at that time. He was going through some personal things, and it was very easy for him to blow up. Mm. So when a fan come up and asked him while we were in our off time for an autograph, everybody kind of like took a deep breath, like, all right, here it's going to ruin the evening. This one. Randy signed it, handed it back to the guy, and never thought nothing of it. The guy then proceeded to ask Randy for some more autographs. And Randy's like, listen, buddy, like I signed one for you. Can you please just let me have time with my friends and enjoy myself? And that fan turned on him, like proceeded to yell at him, cuss at him. Who do you think you are? We pay your salary. We're the fans. You got to do what we ask, blah, blah, blah. So Randy stands up on his chair and looks for security, yells at security and says, hey, this guy just grabbed my balls. We need to get him out of here. And so security takes him out of the bar. We go back to our conversation. About 20 minutes later, the guy shows back up again, and he's nice and cordial and asks Randy to sign something. And Randy goes, bro, I've already signed something for you. Please leave me alone and let me spend time with my friends, man. It was a long tour. Now, what the guy didn't know was 3 days before that, Randy had gotten hurt, and he was world champion at the time. But he couldn't even bend over to tie his boots. His back was hurt so bad. And the last 3 days of the tour, they put Randy in tag matches to kind of help protect him and carry him along so he could still be on the tour and the fans could still see him.
Right.
But he couldn't even bend over to tie his own shoes. He was hurt so bad. So the second time the fan starts cussing him again, and Randy stands up and yells at security and says, this guy fucking grabbed my balls. Like, get him out of here. So the security assured us that they got him out of the building, out of the bar, so we didn't have to worry about it. So it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, the bar's closing up, and we have about 2.5 hours before we have to get on a bus and head to the airport. So we're walking through the lobby, and what we didn't know was the guy that got kicked out snuck back in and was hiding behind the desk. So when we came out, Randy, Lance and Layla were in front of us. Randy was behind them, and I was behind Randy. And this guy come out of nowhere charging Randy like he was going to tackle him. About, I don't know, maybe 5 or seconds before, Randy caught him coming out of the side and yelled, Trevor! Now I'm inebriated. I am fully immersed in the alcohol.
Yeah.
And I see this guy, and I turn around and just right hook him. Wham! Well, this other gentleman started stepping towards me, taking his jacket off, and I smoked him right in the face. What I didn't realize, though, was that these two gentlemen were part of an Irish wedding reception that was going on at the hotel, and they were all in the lobby. Ooh. So now this whole Irish family has seen me knock out 2 of their family members. And I find myself in a half circle of about 20 Irishmen taking their jackets off, ready to beat the shit out of me. While this is going on, my tag team partner realizes what's happening and turns into an NFL linebacker and starts running and just lowers his head and shoulders and comes in from behind and knocks a hole right into this half moon of guys. Reaches through, grabs me through the hole. We're running towards the elevator as these guys are chasing us. And like a movie, the elevator doors closed right at the last minute. So Lance and I, all right, we got out of that one. Ooh, that was close. That was, shit. We go up to the room, and we see, there's only one road to the hotel. So we see cops coming down. Like, we see the cherry lights of the cop cars. We see the cherry lights of the ambulances coming down the road towards the hotel. And we're like, surely that's not for us. Well, we're trying to calm down, and about 15 minutes later, we get a call to our room, which is now, it's like 3:30 in the morning. So we know that's not good.
Nah.
I pick up the phone, and it's Arn. And me being an idiot, half crock, I proceeded to try to pretend like I was sleeping. Like, oh, what's going on there, buddy? What can I do for you? I'm sleeping. And he just no sells it. And he's like, boys, you getting fucking arrested. You need to get fucked down here right now. What we didn't know was the first guy I knocked out started getting up, and the security guard that was supposed to be protecting us and looking out for us realized what was going on and proceeded to take a 10-step punt and kicked this guy in the face, and which brought him up and right back down and completely like smashed his nose, broken orbital. So the hotel called the police, and I guess in Ireland, their rule is to arrest everybody in the fight and then figure out what happened after that. We got arrested. Lance and I were so big that we couldn't fit side by side in their paddy wagon in their cop car, so they had to bring one for each of us. Drove us, me, Lance, and the security guard to the police station. They walked the security guard directly back to the jail cell, closed the jail cell door, closed the big door, walked me and Lance into another room, and the cops started apologizing to us because they had to bring us in. They started bringing us coffee, taking pictures with us. They were all fans. So we were just trying to do whatever. Let's fill out whatever paperwork you guys need. Let's take whatever pictures you need. We have to be on a plane. Like, we're going home back to Raw. Like, we're Raw's in 2 days. Like, we're heading home. We got to be on that plane. Luckily, we rushed back to the hotel. Literally, as we're coming back to the hotel, the boys are getting on the bus to head to the airport. So we rush up to our rooms, throw everything we can into our suitcases, and just barely make the bus. So now Lance and I are wide awake, 14-hour flight. We're world tag team champions, and we realize we're going to get fired. We got arrested in another country, even though we were doing the right thing. We got arrested in another country as world tag team champs. That's going to bring press, and they're going to fire us. Well, we were scared for about 4 hours, and then we started getting mad. We were like, "Hold on a minute! We were defending the world champ. Like,
Nope.
It said recording stop, recording in progress. So I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, keep going.
All right. So we went to Vince and we laid it out to Vince. This is what happened. This is why we did what we did. And then there's like this 10-second pause. It felt like forever. But he pulled his glasses down and looked at us, and he was like, "You know what, boys? I talked to Randy. He told me what you guys did and why you did it. And you know what? It's good for the fans to get their asses kicked every once in a while. Don't worry about it, boys. I'll talk to the lawyers. We'll get this all straightened out. Don't worry about it."
Oh my God.
And we were on Raw that night, defending the tag belts. The twist in the story, though, is we assumed that it was just done and over with. Like, it was, okay, Vince, you said it's taken care of. I ain't got to worry about it. About, about a year and 1 month later, I get let go. I get hey, listen, I got the future endeavors speech, right? Okay, it's part of business. Let's move on. About 2 months after that, I get a call from WWE Legal. And they're saying, hey, listen, you need to go to Ireland to take care of this situation. And I'm like, what situation? Like, I totally forgotten about it. And they go, the fight that you and Lance had gotten into. And I said, well, I'm not going back to Ireland. I'm not messing with any of that. Like, if there's an issue, I don't ever plan on wrestling. Like, I don't get a lot of bookings in Belfast, Ireland. So I'm really not worried about it, you know? And they said, well, that's fine, but it'll mess up your passport. And I was going back and forth I was starting to go back and forth to Japan again. And that would have killed all of that. So I'm now freaking out. I'm like, how am I supposed to handle this? Like, what do I do? And they said, it's on you. We're just calling you to inform you of what's going on. I said, so you guys aren't going to help me with the lawyer? You're not going to help me with travel or any of that? No, it's on you. So Lance had just gotten released maybe 2 weeks before that. And he calls me right after. He goes, "Do you hear what they're doing to us? They're going to let us hang. They're going to let us hang for this." Um, so we called Shawn Michaels and explained everything to Shawn. And Shawn had knew the story previously, but I just laid it out, and he goes, "That's not right. Something's not right. I'll call you back in 5 minutes." And sure enough, in 5 minutes later, I didn't get a call back from Shawn. I got a call back from Johnny Ace. Boys, we're gonna go ahead and take care of all this. Don't worry. We'll get the lawyer. We'll take care of travel, your hotel. Travel will get a hold of you. But they were willing to like let us hang for that, and like truly would affect my career. And I had to make the one and only time I've ever called a top guy and said, "I'm getting fucked. Can you help me?" And Shawn stepped up. I don't know who he called. I'm assuming he called Johnny because it was Johnny who called me back. But Shawn really stepped up in a big way for Lance and I because I wouldn't be able to do anything overseas. And at that time, most of my business was overseas. In Japan, that's where I went to the dojo when I was over there for Noah for 6 months. That was my place, my bread and butter. So I'm really thankful that Shawn stepped up and spoke up to whoever he needed to and defended us because I wouldn't be wrestling today if it wasn't for that.
At worst, things could have gone really sideways for you. Like if you went back to Ireland without having any really backing and they just keep you there because of visa issues and it could have, that could be, we wouldn't be talking right now probably if that went sideways completely.
You're 100%. And it really, it really hurt my feelings to be absolutely honest with you because when I was with WWE, I did everything they asked me for, every single thing. I let a 500-pound black man hump me on TV.
Yes.
Like hey, listen, I'm a team player. If that's what we need today, that's what's going to happen. And it really hurt my feelings that they were willing to just leave me hanging to dry out there like that. So people always ask me, like, you ever plan on going back to WWE? That's the main reason why I always say no. Like, wow. That's not something I want to be a part of because they were willing to let me hang in the worst possible scenario that would have affected me and my family.
Right. And especially when they said they were going to take care of it. So it's been like about a year, you said. So you thought, oh, it's been a year. You thought, well, it's probably been taken care of just behind the books. I didn't know anything about it.
Right. And you know what happened when Lance and I flew over there? We spent maybe 15 minutes at the police station. We went in there. They had CCTV and it had a 15-second delay. So all they seen was me standing there. Then the next shot was the guy down. Me standing there was the next shot. Then the next shot was the guy down. And so they literally had no evidence. And I'll remember this to the day I die. The police officer looks at me, and at the time my chops were huge, big, and bushy. And he looks at me and he goes, "Sir, are you the fellow with the gingerly sideburns right here?" And I just looked at him and I'm like, yeah, that's me, buddy. Like, yeah, obviously that's me. Okay. And they had no footage of actual me making contact with anybody, so they let it go. So I got a free plane ride to Belfast, Ireland for about 15 minutes of conversation. And then Lance and I went and drank the rest of the evening, had a good time, got drunk before we got on the plane, passed out, and went home.
Oh my God. Dude.
And that was all over with. That was it. It was all over with. And never had to worry about it again. If that would have happened, if they would have just called me and said, "Hey, listen, we're going to send you there and get for you guys to button this up," I would have been WWE's most loyal employee, even afterwards. Even when I got let go, you never heard of me going out and burying them on websites or doing interviews to bury them. Whereas a lot of guys would do that because they were mad and they were upset about the way they were treated. I never thought that was good business because eventually one day you might have to go down that road again. And I never wanted to burn that bridge.
Well, that's I remember you telling me that story about the Randy Orton situation, but then I believe we didn't go forward and go to this part two of the story of how pretty much you were told that we'll take care of this, and then no one took care of it. You weren't a part of the company anymore, and they just dropped this hammer on top of you and going, "All right, you take care of it. Bye bye."
Yeah, like how many, independent wrestlers at the time had, enough money to pay for a trip to Belfast, Ireland and back, book a hotel, book a lawyer, nonetheless. Like I
Right.
called Lance and I go, how the hell do we get a lawyer in Belfast, Ireland? Like we can't you can't pull up the yellow pages or you know what I mean? And well, hello, who could fix this for me?
Oh my God. So obviously you and Lance have gone through a lot of ups and downs together. Lance obviously is no longer with us, which is a sad state of affairs for professional wrestling because he was such a great talent. But what was like your relationship like? Because obviously at the first time, you put together, but what's your relationship before being put together? Do we know each other? Then obviously as time goes on, the Redneck Wrecking Crew is kind of what they labeled you a little bit, but I loved that tag team. So what was your relationship like with Lance?
I had never met Lance before I started tagging with him. I had seen him on TV when he was tagging with Mark Jendrak.
Yeah.
And now at the time, I'm doing Trevor Rhodes, the bastard son of Dusty Rhodes, and I got blonde hair. I'm not jacked, but I'm lean. You know what I mean? I'm slender. And I turn on Monday Night Raw, and I see this blonde haired, 280-pound jacked gorilla that is basically the A version of me being the B version. And I'm like, wow, I'm never going to get up there with this gimmick. They've already got one of me, and he's way, way better. So when I finally did get my opportunity, I was supposed to go to developmental and start there. I got a call like 2 weeks after I got my deal, and they said, hey, listen, we're going to bring you in and tag you with this guy named Lance Kane. And I was like, okay, great. Like, I wonder how this is going to work. This pretty bastard and my ugly face. How are we going to make this work? We had our first match, and I don't know what it was, but him and I just immediately clicked. It felt right. Um, we had that first match. I said, we're gonna bring you back tomorrow night and have you guys wrestle again. And what was supposed to happen was I was going to wrestle with Lance one weekend. The next weekend, Kevin Thorne, who was doing the vampire gimmick,
Mm,
wasn't doing it yet, but he was the guy that was going to be that. He was going to tag with Lance, and they were going to see who the better tag team was, and then move forward.
okay.
So after the second night, Johnny comes up to me and Lance and says, "Listen, Lance, you've wrestled with Kevin down in OVW. We don't need to bring him up here next weekend. Who do you think you'd have a better tag team with?" And I for sure at that moment realized, like, well, Lance and Kevin are friends. Like, so I'm. This isn't an option for me.
Yeah.
Um, but Cade spoke up and he said, "Listen, I feel like I got better chemistry with Trevor. I feel like him and I are on the same page with everything. I think I would have a better tag team with Trevor." And Johnny goes, "All right, you boys are on the road next weekend." And we started live events and doing house shows. Um, we got into the car. When he told us that, we got in the car and went back to the hotel. And we're like, okay, like we're moving forward on this. So we just had to talk. And we were like, listen, we know WWE's reputation for tag teams. They don't keep them very long. They
Mm,
usually don't keep them together very long. But at the very least, if you're honest with me, Lance, and I'm honest with you, we both know where we're coming from and we've got somebody we can trust. Even if it's the hard news, even if it's the bad shit that we got to tell each other, as long as we're honest with each other, we're golden. You know what I mean? And we both had that same agreement. And that's how our relationship started, our friendship started. I knew I could trust him with anything because I knew him and I were thinking the same way, had the same ideas, and then slowly I started, introduced him to my family. He introduced me to his family. And we just, bro, when you're on the road like that, you just become brothers. He was trained by Shawn Michaels. I was trained by Harley Race. Our psychology about pro wrestling was very similar in the thought process of everything. So we blended really well together in that. And plus, Lance and I loved the business. The business was always about the match, what story we could tell in the match. It was never about what move he could get in or what move I could get in, or I want to shine more than you. It was about if this match gets over, we both get over.
Right.
And that's the mentality we went into it, and it made every decision after that easy because it wasn't about him or I, it was about us and what was best for him and me. And so we just clicked, and we got to a point where like people would start realizing, well, if you see one, the other one's not too far behind. We were like brothers. We would
Yeah.
literally, I would, if I flew into the airport and I was there first, I would just wait until he flew in and we'd get a rental car together and we'd take off for the loop and vice versa. If he got there before me, he'd just wait for me. It wasn't, we were a partnership. We knew we were making money together. We knew eventually they were going to try to split us up, which they did on two different occasions.
I know.
And they realized, wow, these guys are way better together. Let's put them back. And we were like, fuck, you take us, why'd you split us apart in the first place? Um, and it's funny how that all came about because when they split us up, they had no plans to put us back together. We were kind of flailing a little bit as singles wrestlers, and there was a European tour coming up, and we begged Johnny, hey, listen, just put us together for the European tour. We'll put over, wrestle anybody you want. Just let us go make some money. We went out there and tagged that whole European tour, and the agents' reports that they were sending back to the office was like, these guys are way better together. They're a great tag team. We can do something with them. And we got back from that European tour. Johnny Ace pulled us in to the office at Raw and said, all right, boys, we're going to go ahead and put you boys back together. And Lance and I are looking at each other. It's about time, bro. Like, Stevie Wonder can see that this is a good thing. Let's
I
make
know.
money with it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
obviously, it derailed us for a little bit. You know what I mean? It killed some of our momentum, but we were able to get it back. And then just right as we were about to crest and do something special, they split us up again.
I know.
And it's like, fuck, like okay, you get to a point where you start building and you're like, okay, all right, we're right there. Like, we're doing everything we're supposed to be doing. The fans are loving are hating us the way they're supposed to. And a writer has a different idea. Or the other thing was too, like you didn't know who to like if you made somebody mad and you didn't realize that you made them mad, they'd go into the production office or production meetings and bury you. I remember I won't say the producer's name, um, but Lance and I on our first run were hot. We go do vignettes, everything's going well. And a certain producer that was there doing our vignettes tried to convince Lance and I that John Cena was a real thug, like really from the streets, like a real thug. And Lance had lived with him in OVW at an apartment, before he was John Cena and he was the prototype.
Yeah, yeah.
And, and we all know, like John, obviously not a thug, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this producer is getting angry because we're not selling it. Like we're not no, like this he's just John Cena. He's a regular guy from Massachusetts. Like he's not a thug. Well, this producer we got so angry that we didn't like cater to that conversation. He went into the production meeting and buried us and said that we weren't ready, that we were too immature, and that they didn't think it was the right time. And it was so bad that Shawn Michaels came out of said meeting and came up to us and like, what the hell did you say to him? And we were like, why? Because that cat just went in there and buried you to Vince, buried you to Johnny, buried you to the whole writing staff, and you guys aren't on TV this week. And so we explained the situation to him, and he goes, huh, well, that's some horse shit. And I go, yeah, that's some horse shit. And he goes, well, you boys better figure out how to fix it. Because it wasn't that Sean didn't want to help us, but he knew like there are some things that we have to do for ourselves.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? If he goes in there for every fight, every argument, we don't stand on our own. We stand on him. Um, and it took us a couple months to just like convince Vince that like we were a good tag team and that we should be on TV. It's just horseshit politics that I wasn't prepared for. Like Harley never told me in training, "Hey, listen, kid, you're going to do everything right. You're going to be everything they need, but you're going to piss off the wrong asshole, and your career's going to be disrailed."
Yes.
It was always cream rises to the top. So when I got up there, like that stuff was really confusing and made me angry because I'm like, I worked my whole career to get here to have some asshole who's never been in a fist fight tell me how to do my job, and then when I don't do it his way, he complains about me, and it really disheartened me about when it came to the business.
Yeah.
That's one of the things why I love NWA so much. Is like there's one chief, there's one boss, and I have to answer to him, and all he wants me to do is go out there and do what I know to do. Trevor, I pay you to wrestle. Go wrestle. Go make stories. Go do what I need you to do. There is no don't do this, don't do that. Trevor, you can't do this because of this person. I was one of it was one of the crazy conversations I had with Billy Corrigan and Dave Lagana when I first got my job. I had a match and I come in the back and they said, "We've already got you booked for another match." I was only planning on doing one. And so I finally had a meeting with them and I said, "Well, what do you want from me?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I go, "Every promoter, like, Trevor, this is our idea. This is what we want. This is what we were thinking. This is the direction we're going to go." And Billy goes, "I just want Trevor Murdoch. Like, I'll tell you who you're wrestling, but you make the business of it." I'm like, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, Trevor, you're a wrestler, right?" And I, "Well, yes, sir." He goes, "Then go fucking wrestle." Like, then, and I was very confused at the very beginning because I was like, "Oh, well, I don't know how to be Trevor because everybody tells me what they want, how they want Trevor to be."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Okay, all right." And once I was like, "Okay, I can't do anything wrong. There is no wrong answer." It just came all back to me. You know what I mean? The old school wrestling and the love of the business and like the ideas and the storytelling. I was like, I can do all of this here. For example, there was a match between me and Tom Latimer, and I got not one offensive move, not one. Not
Hmm.
I didn't swing a punch, I didn't kick, I didn't do anything. And I had talked to Tom about the match and explained to him what I was wanting to do, and Tom was down for it. And I was going over nonetheless. I know I'm breaking kayfabe here, but I was going over. And so I was like, "Let's go tell Billy what we're doing." And I went and explained everything to Billy. And he goes, "Wait a minute." He goes, "Trevor, you're winning, but you're not going to have not one offensive move." I said, "Billy, I'm not even going to swing a punch. I'm never going to have an opportunity. Tom is going to kick my ass for 3 minutes. And out of nowhere, I'm going to roll him up out of the corner, and then I'm going to fall to the floor selling that same ass kicking I got for 3 minutes." And you could see the confused look on his face, like, "Well, I don't know. Like, this sounds really out of the realm of normal, what he's used to seeing."
Yeah.
And I said, "Billy, you got to trust me." And he goes, "Okay." He goes, "The floor is yours. Go do what you got to do. I trust you." And we went out there, and I had Tom kick my ass for a good 4 solid minutes. And the crowd was with us the whole time. They were booing the shit out of Tom, cheering for me. And when I rolled Tom up out of nowhere, the people thought I was done. They thought, like, "Wow, this is a long ass kicking. Like, how's
Right.
Trevor going to win this?" I rolled him up in the corner out of nowhere. One, two, three, and I fell to the floor. And the camera comes right to me, and I look at it and I go, "Did I just win? Did that just happen?" And the whole moment, the whole aura of wow, we just saw a hell of a match, but something we've never seen before. Tom didn't lose anything. He got more heat than he ever got before. And I got just as over by rolling a guy up at the right time. We got in the back, and Billy's like, "Holy shit." He goes, "That's awesome. That was okay. I get it now. I get it." But he's confident enough in me, and his ego's not so big that Billy wants to tell me how to do exactly my job. "Trevor, here's the emotion I need. please go out and create it. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And that's a
Billy.
freedom, bro.
I know Billy seems every time I talk to Billy, he's very open to the opportunities of having wrestlers create their own magic versus having someone write down on a piece of paper. This is exactly what you need to do. Go out and do it. And then imagine if you fail at doing what the person wrote, and then it's like, well, they consider you a failure or like you didn't live up to your potential because you didn't execute their plan. It's like, well,
Yep.
maybe you should let me do what I want to do and see how it goes first before you start writing down on a piece of paper what I should do.
Well, and to be honest with you, nobody knows me better than me.
Of course.
So if you tell me, Steve, hey Trevor, in this match, I need people to be behind you, but I also need you to lose and make this guy the most hated guy in the whole company tonight. Okay, all right. And you let me go back and you let me think on it. And you let me think, okay, and I go back to my experiences of what I've done in the business for the last 25 years. And I'm able to put together this emotional roller coaster. There is no moment where Billy goes, no, I don't like this and I don't like that. Change this and change that. He goes, okay, go do you. I believe in you. Those words come out of his mouth so much that I start believing it. Like I'm good. Whereas before, you deal with such negativity sometimes, you start questioning your ability and questioning whether or not I made the right decision. Maybe I am the shit. Maybe maybe I am so bad that maybe I need to just find another career. I need to go do something else. But when I came to Billy, it was like, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. And he does tell us things that he doesn't like,
Of course.
but he doesn't tell us not to do them. I know what you don't like, so I'm just not going to do them. But you don't have to come to me and go, don't control me, guide me.
Yeah.
And that's what Billy does. He guides the boys. He's got bulletin points on his promos. Trevor, I'd like you to talk about this. I'd like you to talk about that. But he never at any point says, say it like this, do it like this. And when you work for a guy like that, you want to go above and beyond because you feel like you got a partner. You got somebody who believes in you, somebody who's behind you, somebody who's encouraging you to get to that next level. And for that guy, I'll take a bullet for it.
Yeah. I love me some Billy Corgan. I love me some NWA as well. And I think, obviously you see it too. You talk about negativity on social media sometimes where people are trying to tear down companies or people because they don't agree with whatever their thoughts are on other subjects in the world, which is confusing to me because if you love the wrestling business, you want everyone to succeed because if everyone succeeds, then everyone who loves wrestling has more to watch. You look at it right now. Every single day, I think, except for Sundays, unless there's like a pay-per-view on, there's wrestling on every day. And to me, growing up, it was like you only had Saturday mornings, and random Sundays. And now it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Like that, to me, it's a great thing. So anyone who's just tearing people down for no reason at all is they just don't like themselves, I guess.
Well, and there used to be a time, like you said, Steve, where we only had one or two options, and everybody bitched about not having more options.
Yeah.
Well, now as a wrestling fan, you can watch the wrestling you like because there's so many different types of wrestling.
Yes.
You got lucha wrestling, you got New Japan, you got WWE, AEW, Impact, NWA, MLW. There is such a diverse group of wrestling now. Like it's almost. Did you ever play the game Trivia Pursuit when
Of
you were
course.
younger? And you had the little pie pieces, and you wanted to fill up the
Yeah.
circle. Well, that's what wrestling is now. There's so many pie pieces, and the circle is pro wrestling. So if you really love pro wrestling and you like a style of pro wrestling, you like the lucha style, there's plenty of it on TV for you to watch and enjoy. Don't need to bury somebody else's shit. If you like smash mouth wrestling, like we do in the NWA, we see two guys lay the wood to each other. You have, as a wrestling fan, that option. Whereas before, we could only turn on Monday Night Raw, and we all bitched about it because it was the only option we had.
That's
Well,
true.
now we've got options, folks. So love what you love, but don't knock what everybody else loves, what somebody else loves. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because as a wrestling fan, in my opinion, the business is hotter now
Mm-hmm.
than it ever has been before. Don't get me wrong, wrestling was popular and a mainstay, like in the Attitude Era, and then you work back towards before Vince took over territories. It was hot,
Yeah.
but now there's so much wrestling that everybody can enjoy it. Everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just fucking enjoy it, man. Just love it for what it is.
I love it. I love it. It's true because right now with because I think technology has caught up with people's appetites of streaming platforms, being able to, because before, if you missed an episode of, say, Raw, you missed it forever.
Yep.
You could never go back and watch it, find it somewhere else. It wasn't going to repeat. Superstars on Saturdays, or even as years go on, Nitro or Thunder, there was no way for you ever to see the episode you missed. Today's world, you have streaming platforms, you have DVRs, you can record things, you can watch on your phone, clips on YouTube. Like, there's a million options out there to watch anything you want to watch, from your local community wrestling federation to a global phenomenon. There's everything for everyone right now, and I think it's amazing. But, as we started off the show talking about July 8th and 9th, HB Cares for Cooper, again, is a huge event for NWA and, of course, for Highland Park. You guys going down there, showing your support for a group of people who definitely need some smiles on their faces. And again, July 9th, a double NWA Power taping. This is huge because coming into an area like this and entertaining them with the quality of work you're putting out there is going to be such a great, great atmosphere, I think, coming up on July 8th and 9th. And so, Trevor Murdoch, I got to say, if I was wearing a hat, I'd tip it to you, because what you're going out there and doing for these people in Highland Park is phenomenal. And again, when people fall down, someone sometimes needs someone to pick them back up. And NWA is going to do that this weekend on July 8th and 9th in Highland Park. So again, thank you so much for everything you're doing for them.
No, thank you, man. I'm just blessed to get the opportunity to try to help somebody, because as well as I do, we all have our moments. We're all down at some point in our lives, and we hope that somebody's there to try to help elevate us and bring us back up. So it's nice to pay back the kindness I've received in my life in the past. You know what I mean?
Of course, 100%. And I cannot wait for more NWA news. I tried to pull out of Billy a streaming platform deal, and he said, I can't. He's like, I can't further talk about this subject. And I was like, Billy, when you say those things, people think things when you don't answer questions.
We are, I'm not going to go into details, but we're this close, on the verge of something really big happening for NWA, and hopefully where we can take NWA and take it and put it to the masses even more than what we are now. So,
I can't
not
wait.
to mention, when you've got a multi-platinum rock star leading the show, anything could happen, right?
That's true. He knows a lot of people. I actually tried to get Billy, because the NWA's Twitter account did put out a picture of Mark Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk, rat in the cage, steel cage match. And I said, Billy, you know people. You can get this done in NWA. Why can't we get this going? He didn't say no. He didn't say no, Trevor.
I think there's a tag team match involved. I think a 6-man tag, me, Noxie, and I'm gonna take Elon because I want a man of technology. Against Zuck and whoever jabrones he wants to pick. But I think we should do it in an NWA ring for sure.
I love it so much. 6-man tag. Let's save Elon and Mark Zuckerberg from their embarrassment of trying to fight one-on-one. Have a little help from you.
Well, plus, I'm all about business. So this is the beginning of the tier to move to them into a singles and make more money. Like, listen, we're going to tell a story and we're going to make some money.
Right.
You can't just give it to them at the very first. You know what I mean? You got to build up to it, brother.
True. 3-on-3, then a tag match, a mixed tag, then the one-on-one match, NWA 75, the anniversary show coming up later this year, so we can get Mark Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk, rat in a cage match, Billy Corgan, NWA. I can't wait to see that someday in the future. Hopefully it can happen. But I got to say, it's been an honor and a privilege talking to you one more time. I think it was the third time I've interviewed today, and I don't think we said anything controversial, so I think we're good. I think we're good here.
We'll save it for next time.
Next time we'll stir up shit. But right now we're helping out Highland Park, again, July 8th and 9th. It's been a pleasure talking to you one more time. One half of the Crockett Cup winners this year with Mike Knox. It's been a pleasure again. Trevor Murdoch. I've been Steve Fall. He, Trevor Murdoch. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.